Hello folks, Mark Doody here again, and we're going to do the Hollywood Reporters. The Rings of Power writers react to 5 fan criticisms of their show. From short-haired elves to dwarf, wife beards and Galadriel's portrayal, Amazon's Lord of the Rings series showrunners addresses some common Tolkien fandom canon complaints. Well, this is going to be interesting. J.R.R. Tolkien fans love how their author's fantasy world is so vast and yet so convincingly detailed and specific, so it's no surprise that Amazon's Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power has sparked some canonical gripes when striving to adapt Tolkien's Second Age for modern global TV viewers. Showrunners J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have seen the chatter and were down to respond to some of the most oft-repeated online comments. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Let's see where they go with this. And then amazingly, McKay even asked, "What are you not buying about the show?" Really? You're asking that? Oh. As noted, the Hollywood Reporter's deep dive Rings of Power cover story. This week, the writers and producers privately debated many of the same topics fans have been discussing since the show's September 2nd debut, so they were hyper prepared to tackle the following 5 complaints. Well, this is going to be interesting, folks. Let's see where this goes. Dwarf wives in the Rings of Power don't have beards. J.D. Payne, they actually do. It's not accurate. We looked at the various versions of what facial hair on dwarven women might look like. There are beard hairs applied lovingly one at a time onto Disa, actress Sophia Nomvet. Sorry, I forgot your name wrong. And there are these sort of mutton chops on the side. Now, if you actually look at the picture of Disa, does it look like she actually has a beard? Apparently, they've put on a single hair. One hair. That's what it looks like. They've put a single piece of hair onto her cheek. If you actually zoom in so close. But don't forget that Gimli in the Two Towers was talking about dwarven wives, and that, you know, it's hard to tell a woman from a male when it comes to the dwarves. But again, what do we know? We're only the fandom, we only look at the lore, we only know this story inside out, but we're in the wrong, and apparently they know better by putting one single strand of hair. Patrick McKay, let's see what this toolbag's got to say. I would go further to say that Tolkien himself, if you study his entire body of work, which I suggest these two blatantly pair of tits actually go and read the book, because nothing you've produced is anything close to J.R.R. Tolkien's body of work. But anyway, has answered this particular question both ways. There are very strong argument to be made that the dwarf women should have beards, and a very strong argument to be made that they don't. We're happy with where we have landed. So basically what you're trying to say is that, you know, you say that you studied the book, which everybody who's seen this show knows. They are so far, you know, this is Lord of the Rings in name only. They've taken a couple of names, a couple of places, and everything else is complete bullshit that they've totally made up. So this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So an argument can be made that you haven't actually read the entire body of work, which is blatantly obvious. But the fact that, you know, the criticisms about dwarves' wives not having beards is not one of the major issues and complaints of this show. This is probably one of the most smallest complaint that you can come up with. and dodging the question to say, oh, there could be an argument made that they don't have beards and an argument made to say that they do. Well, they do have beards. If you study J.R. Tolkien's entire body of work, dwarven women have beards. So I don't know where you're trying to go with this, but let's continue. Let's see what more garbage they have to say. Elves don't have shaved heads or short hair. Right, they don't. If Tolkien ever wrote a comprehensive style guide to hairstyles in Middle-earth over its thousands of years of history, I would love to see it. Right. Let's see what McKay says. Part of the show is to go deeper and broader into each of these races and cultures, to say that any culture as rich and with long of a history as the elves would all have the same hair for 9,000 years. That doesn't seem to correspond and harmonize with the breadth of the imagination that Tolkien left us. Right, so again, elves have long hair. But again, so we've got 2 out of the 5 complaints is basically facial hair and head hair. Again, these are not major complaints. So again, elves had long hair. They didn't have short hair. They didn't have modern styled short hair like they do in this. So again, deviating away from the law. But what do I know? It's not as if I read the books. It's not as if I've watched this garbage. And it's not as if I ain't watched the trilogy either. So, you know, I'm just an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. Galadriel acts too masculine and she never went to Numenor. Galadriel never went to Numenor. Okay. Pain. I would love to see in Tolkien where it says Galadriel never went to Numenor, that it doesn't exist. Second one of her names is Nerwin, which means man-maiden, and third, she does not act masculine. Alright, so in Tolkien Gateway, let's have a look at what Nerwin and what it references to. Galadriel was born in Eldamar in the Year of the Trees in 1362. She was the 4th child of Finarfin, Prince of the Noldor, and who named her Artanis. Her mother was Arwen, Princess of the Telen, who named her Norwin, man-maiden. Galadriel grew up beautiful and tall, even for a woman of the Noldor, being strong of body, will and mind, a match for both the lawmasters and the athletes of the Eldar in the days of their youth. So it says that she was athletic, not that she was a strong warrior. She was athletic. She was good at basketball. She was good at netball. She was good at sports. Nowhere does it say that she was a soldier, a warrior. Show me in the books where Galadriel picked up his sword and she went off to war. You know, for people who studied the entire body of work, where does it say Galadriel picked up her sword and was a warrior? And I'll wait for your response, because I'll be waiting a very long time. I'll be dead before you can even prove it, because you can't prove it. So I'd love to see where it says Galadriel never went to Numenor. That doesn't exist. So show me where Galadriel went to the moon. Where does it say that? It doesn't. It doesn't exist. Show me where Galadriel can tank a volcanic eruption or a pyroclastic flow to her face and survive. That doesn't exist. Show me where she had a sexual relationship with Halbrand or Sauron. That doesn't exist. So put in this term, this one here, that doesn't exist doesn't make it true or correct to the law, because you're just making up assumptions. You can use this phrase for anything. So let's see what the other tit has to say. McKay also, the name Galadriel, or Galadriel, is loosely translated in Elvish as a maiden with a crown of golden hair. The reason she had a crown of golden hair is because when she would fight and do all sorts of sparring with other elves, she would braid her hair and put it up on top of her head to stay out the way. So in the etymology is the idea that Galadriel is a warrior. Galadriel was never a warrior. Galadriel was she was royalty. She stayed away from the battles. She never went to war. She never did any of these things. So again, that doesn't exist. That Galadriel is a warrior. That doesn't exist. Okay, so there's so much wrong with Galadriel. We can sit here all day poking holes in the whole Galadriel story. Oh my god. Oh my god. The costumes look too new. McKay, I certainly don't agree with that note. Who the hell's saying this? I've never seen this. Is this just some random bullshit question that they've just thought, right, we're going to answer this one because it's easy and, you know, we're full of shit. I think we are always talking about a lived-in world, and we're always talking about adding breakdown to give costumes a more worn look. But also, that's not a bad shirt you got on, is it? Is it new? Guess what? Sometimes clothes are new. What the hell is even that?
What the hell is even that?
What the hell are these people talking about? The costumes look too new. This is pointless. I'm moving on. I'm not wasting my time on that one. The show's pacing has been too slow. Before I even get into this, let's look at this, right? So, let's look at the arcs. We have the Harfoots, who have spent all the time on the trail. And basically the arc is, do we trust this stranger? Do we trust Meteor Man or do we not trust Meteor Man? Do we trust Meteor Man? Do we not trust Meteor Man? Do we trust Meteor Man? Do we not trust Meteor Man? Let's send Meteor Man away. Oh, we need to go and save Meteor Man. Right? And it's took you all these episodes to do the same pointless shit. If the Harfoots weren't in it, would this have made a difference to the story? So far, no. This has been done before the final episode, by the way. So, I very much doubt there's going to be a massive conclusion on this one. We then go to the arc of Elrond. And basically he goes to the dwarves. We dig Mithril, we not dig Mithril. We dig Mithril, we not dig Mithril. We dig Mithril, we not dig Mithril. Has anything changed since the beginning? No. We're just going around in circles with the same story. To dig or not to dig. We have, what other storylines do we have? Let's have a think. Arondir and Titty Lady. I don't know, can't remember what her name is because these characters are so unlikable. So, what's their arc? Basically, apart from the sword hilt, which really wasn't their story, but basically, what is their story? I don't know. Defend a town, even a wooden town, even though they had a big stone watchtower, and their entire arc has been what? Nothing really. To find the sword hilt that doesn't do anything, that breaks a dam, and the orcs, if you know, for a secret powerful weapon to only break a dam, and the orcs had to dig the flipping tunnels all the way to Mount Doom, and in the thousands and the hundreds of years that the elves have been in this watchtower have not noticed the orcs digging all the way to Mount Doom. So there's a massive problem there. Then we have Galadriel, who spent centuries hunting Sauron, who basically meets Sauron straight away and doesn't recognize him. Goes to Numenor with, looking at this symbol, the Mark of Sauron. So it took several like 4 episodes, I think it was, to find that it was a map location of Mordor, which we all knew. So the mystery box, because this is full of mystery boxes, so you've got the Mithril mystery box, you've got the mystery box of Galadriel's Mark of Sauron, and basically what has Galadriel's arc been? I can't really tell you, because all she's done is, I want to see the manager, 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 every single place she goes. And her arc has basically been what exactly? So the difference, because let's take the sword hilt, right? Her actions would have made no flipping difference whatsoever, because Adar would have got the sword hilt anyway, and Mount Doom would have been created. I don't know why we have an origin story for Mount Doom, God knows. But anyway, so far, is the pacing too slow? Well, it took you 4 episodes to figure out a map. The Harfoots have achieved nothing. Elrond has achieved nothing. What has this show actually achieved? What has been achieved in all this? The creation of Mount Doom that would have got created regardless, even though we don't need an origin story for Mount Doom, because that's just ridiculous. But anyway, let's see what these pair of twats have to say. Payne, I hope that people can key in for the journey. A lot of blockbusters have breakneck pace where you're wheeled from one set piece to the next until it all collapses under its own weight. Right. Tolkien will take his time and let you sink into the characters, and journeys can be hard in Tolkien. I hope people will have the patience to settle in for a Tolkien epic. So going on to what I just said, they've achieved absolutely fuck all in this season. This show is called Rings of Power, and we have no Rings of Power. The pacing is ridiculously slow, but yet they can build half of a forge within a day or 2. There is no concept of time. How the Númenórean army teleported from the ships to the town where they were being attacked, and how did they know they was at that town? Again, right, so the pacing is, there is no pacing, it's snail's pace, and then basically everybody teleports when they need to, just to progress the story. Right, so let's continue. That said, in the Rings of Power cover story, the duo conceded that some scenes in Season 1 weren't as urgent as they could have been. None of it's been urgent. There is no any sense of urgency in any of it. There's been no sense of, these have been put in danger, what's going to happen. There is no right, so let's take Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy. You showed their journey, right? Because basically, let's just take the Fellowship of the Ring, right? 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on which version you're watching. We meet the characters, we have a liking and understanding for characters, we know each character, we know their traits, we see their journey progress from, we go from a huge amount of distance, a huge amount of dialogue, character building, world building, and they manage to do that in a couple of hours in a film. The pacing needs to be faster because they're in such a shorter time. However, let's look at Rings of Power. What have they achieved, right? So far there's been 7 episodes. Or 8 episodes, I don't even know. I don't even care anymore. Because it feels like, right? It feels like a century watching this show. You're constantly looking at the time. You're either looking at the time constantly, thinking, oh Christ, I'm only a third of the way through. And it feels like a lifetime. Or you fall asleep and you have to watch this shit again. I mean, this is how bad it is. Even the Amazon analyst who watched this show, the analyst even said, I fell asleep watching it because it was so boring. So, sense of urgency, there is none, because there's nothing to be urgent about. There's no, There's no dire evilness. There's nothing. Anyway, there are things that didn't work well in Season 1. Do you know what didn't work well in Season 1? Season 1. Any of it. None of it worked. There is not one good set piece about this, except for some of the places would make good screensavers, and that's about it. Just because something looks good, I could have a shit and it looks really good, doesn't mean that it's good for you. It doesn't mean that it's brilliant. It's still a piece of shit. Anyway, that might have worked into a smaller show. Really? McKay said it has to be about good and evil. Right, this is where I have a major problem. The Harfoots are evil. Galadriel is evil. Everybody in the show is evil. And the only people I find good are the orcs. Which is, the wrong way round. The orcs are freedom fighters. They're trying to fight for their land. They're trying to survive. They're trying to not be wiped out. They're trying to find a place to call home because they've been separated. They've been dispersed. They've lost a war. They are trying to survive. To me, that sounds good. So you've made evil good and good evil. Anyway, and the fate of the world, or it doesn't have the epic feeling you want when you're in Tolkien. This show has no feeling but sleep. To go to sleep. Boring. What is even happening? This is not Tolkien at all, whatsoever. The first time showrunners bested dozens of possible rivals to get the job creating Prime Video series, with Amazon executives citing Payne and McKay's passion for and depth of knowledge of Tolkien's world. Do you know what? Do you know the answer to that? That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Jesus. They know absolutely fuck all about Tolkien's world. If they did, it means they've deliberately destroyed his work. So again, they're being disingenuous. Anyway, the two also acknowledged that they learnt a lot when making the massively complicated first season. Massively complicated? I could have wrote this. My fucking arse could have wrote this one just by doing a fart, because this is absolutely shit. This has nothing to do with Tolkien. This is completely and utter subversion of all of his work. Calling this Tolkien is he'll be spinning in his grave if he ever saw this. My God. And the show's episodes generally improve as the season unfolds. The episodes get worse. Galadriel tanks a pyroclastic flow, for fuck's sake. She survives with a little bit of soot on her. You know what I mean? And then you're trying to make is Isildur dead? No, he ain't fucking dead. He chops Sauron's fingers off. How could he be fucking dead? This is wow. They expect to level up the episodes going into the season 2 to be bigger and better on every level by order of magnitude. Well, you've set a very low bar there, because there is no order of magnitude even in season 1. Leveling up season 2 to be better, how are you going to do that? Getting rid of all the cast? Starting again? This is diabolical. The duo also teased, spoiler free, next week's 8th and final episode. Right, so we're 7 episodes in, folks, so and the final episode to their show's debut season. When the world breaks, quite literally, how do you start to pick up the pieces, McKay asked. Quite often in serialized television, the last episode of the first season is table setting for the second season. We don't feel that way. Our last episode is ultimate culmination of every single fuse. We don't feel that way. Our last episode is the ultimate culmination of every single fuse. Really? We already know Halbrand is Sauron. When he says, I've been known by many names, I've been here since the I can't remember the exact words they used. But within like episode 2 or 3, we already knew it was Sauron. You know, the mystery box of Mithril, we already knew it was Mithril. It wouldn't have been the Arkenstone because the Arkenstone was in a completely different place. But anyway, you know, this is how fucking ridiculous this is. So, a culmination of every single fuse we've lit in the first 7 episodes. What exactly? I'm waiting to hear this. What fuse has been lit? Hopefully people are really satisfied with the big booms that happen. Big booms that happen. Though they might be emotional booms rather than volcanic. Are you serious? Are you serious? These 2 pair of tits should not have even touched this body of work. This is abysmal. Abysmal. What has been achieved? Tell me, what has been achieved during the Rings of Power? Absolutely nothing. And these pair of twats are here trying to say, right, 5 fan criticisms. Dwarven beards, elven short hair, Galadriel too masculine. No, she's just a bitch. An absolute evil bastard that no one gives a shit about. You've turned Galadriel from a wonderful character emanating with flow, with such gravitas when she was on screen, and then you've put in basically just because Galadriel looks like one of the, you know, looks like, what's her name? Oh, I can't think of what her name is, nor do I care. You know, Galadriel was just a self-insert. Costumes look too new, which is just fucking dumb. You know, the show's pacing has been too slow. The show's pacing is fucking slow, and the show makes no sense whatsoever. You've completely destroyed everything to do with Lord of the Rings. So, anyway, that's the Rings of Power writer's reaction. And to be honest, it sums up everything. When you say things like, that doesn't exist. You know, where did Rings of Power in this exist? That doesn't. You know what I mean? Where did Galadriel take a nuclear warhead and blown up Mordor? That didn't exist, but we're going to put it in the show. They didn't, but, you know, this is my point. That their best argument for things is that doesn't exist. Costumes look too new. Guess what? Sometimes clothes are new. Really, these are the people that are directing this absolute masterpiece. You know what I mean? It says it all. That these pair of twats don't know how to even think like Tolkien, talk like Tolkien, because nothing in this show is close to Tolkien, and they're just using his name as per. You know, I'm not going to go on now because otherwise, you know, I'll be here all day ranting about it. But anyway, let's leave it there. You know, keep up the good work, people, because everybody's criticisms are affecting these people. You know, because we've gone from being patently evil. They've recently come out saying that everybody is now a neo-Nazi and a fascist in the new article that's come out, and it says everything about them. They're still hiding all the comments, all the 1-star reviews to keep their reviews better, to make it stay at 3.3, even though we know this shit is garbage and everybody's complaints is affecting them. How they're getting to season 2, what they're going to do for season 2, who knows. The good thing is it's going to take at least 2 years before they even release it. So anyway, folks, keep up the good work. Keep fighting this garbage. Have your say. Say what you think this show is. Don't be dismayed by these people calling you evil, even though, you know, look at the things they've done is evil. Don't take, you know, the words like fascist and racist all the time. we know nobody is fascist and racist about this. It's the writing, it's the product that they've produced, that it is going nowhere. So folks, I'm going to leave it there. Please support the channel in any way you can. Please like, share and subscribe. Ta-ra.